one of the words I wanted to touch on in Tajweed is this word Qalqalah, and I'll just write it for you. Qalqalah. So what does it actually mean? Well, basically it means to bounce off or to produce an echo sound, so sounds that actually bounce off or echo. In terms of tajweed, what it means is to disturb a letter. Now when we talk about disturbing a letter, we're mainly talking about letters that are sakin, and there are particular letters that I'm going to go through which when they are sakin they produce an echo sound. But just before that, there are actually 3 types of qalqalah that are actually used, and I'll write them down for you just so that makes life a lot easier. The first one is Qalqalah Sughra, which is Sad, Ra, Sad, Ghain, and Ra. Okay, the second one is Qalqalah Kubra, and that is the middle one. And the last one, I'm just going to change the color for the first letter, which is Alif Hamza with a fatha, and then I'll go back to the original colors. Qalqalah Akbar. Now, I did say in previous videos that Arabic words are made from root letters. So from the root letters of Sughra, we have Sad, Ghain, and Ra. Okay, this means to make something small. So you would always have Saghir, which means small, and this would mean to make something small. Then you'll have Kubra, which means to make something big. So Kaf, Ba, and Ra. Okay, so you hear the words Kabir, for instance. Okay, the last one has an Alif Hamza at the start. Now this is in Arabic they call this Ismul Tafdil, which means a noun of preeminence. So it's giving something of a very high status. So you would say Akbar, which gives it a higher standing. So that's this pattern. You could actually use that same pattern on Sad, Ghain, and Ra to make Asghar. So not to take you away from the point, but in a household you might have 2 brothers, one who is older than the other. The older one would be called Ali Akbar and the younger one would be called Ali Asghar. Okay, so this is why these terms are actually used. Okay, but anyway, not to divert from the point, there are letters in Arabic, in the Quran, that if they are sakin, you would have to produce an echo sound, and those letters are these. That is a qaf, ta, ba, jim, and dal. Okay, so those 5 letters. Now we will remember this as an acronym that we can use. Okay, and if we put them together, we would have a word. We would have, and I'll write this down for you. We would have Qutbu Jad. Qutbu Jad. Okay, now if any of these letters, of these 5 letters, are sakin in a surah, you would have to produce an echo sound. So let me give you an example of this one here, Qalqalah Sughra. So if we go to the Quran and we go to Suratul Quraysh, yes, we go to Suratul Quraysh. Okay, we have here, I'll give you on the last, I think it's the last ayah, yeah, on the last ayah we have Alladhi At'amahum. Now the ta produces a very light echo. At'amahum, At'amahum. Why? Because it's in the middle of a word. So if any of these letters here of Qutbu Jad take place and they are sakin in the middle of a word, you will apply this one here, Qalqalah Sughra. Okay, that's what you will apply. So it's a very light echo. Alladhi at'amahum. It's not a fatha, it's not at'ama, it's not that. It's at'amahum. Okay, it's a very light sound. Now for the next one, Qalqalah Kubra, this takes place on the end of a word, typically in the end of an ayah. Okay, so if we go to Surah Al-Ikhlas, for instance, we see the whole surah is full of them, because at the end of the verse, you would have to pronounce, you won't say ahadun, here, you would say ahad, okay, but you would produce an echo sound, you would say Qul huwallahu ahad. Okay, so again, Qalqalah is applied there. Qul huwallahu ahad. Okay, there is a verse here, on the third one, where you would say, this also has Qalqalah. So, lam yalid wa lam yulad. Okay, again, Qalqalah is produced here. So it's an echo. The last one is Qalqalah Akbar. Okay, now this would be a more emphatic version, the most emphatic version, in fact. Why? Because the letter must be produced, which is sakin. Okay, so you wouldn't produce the vowel sign on it, but it must have a shad. It must be mushaddad. So it has to have a shadda on it. So I'll give you an example. We have in Suratul Masad here, where we have the last wet letter, which is watabba. Watabba. Okay, so we would say lahabil watabba. Okay, so that is a more emphatic version of the qalqalah. So there are three types of qalqalah: sughra, kubra, and akbar. Now there are other teaching methods that would say there is a qalqalah wusata, but then they kind of ignore this one and put kubra in place of that. Okay, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, there's only three typically sounds that you can make. Okay, and the names that are given are sughra, kubra, and akbar, and we've just gone through that. So just to recap, sughra is when it's in the middle of a word. You would produce any of these five letters with a light echo. If it is kubra, that comes on the end of a word, and typically you'll always have on the end of an ayah in Surah Al-Falaq, for instance, and Surah Al-Ikhlas. You will have any of these five letters on the end of the verse, on any of these verses, and they would have to be produced with an echo or a bounce off. So, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Okay, so again, it's more emphatic than Sughra, but this one, it must be mushaddad. Okay, and on the end of the word of the end of the ayah. Okay, so again, lahabil wa tabba, as we just given an example. So I hope that's clear of the different examples of qalqalah.